Stress is raining on my parade, but in my soul it's a sunny day. 'Cause you're good like that. Yeah, you're good like that. Even when it's all going wrong, my heart is singing a different song, and I can't explain it. No, I can't contain it. It's just inside me. Got that Sunday morning feeling, I can't hide it. Counting blessings to the ceiling. I believe that you are working everything for good. No denying, your love is shining. That Sunday morning feeling. That Sunday morning feeling. Some people may never understand, but you're the reason I clap my hands. 'Cause you're good like that. Yeah, you're good like that. The kind of joy money never could buy. The kind of peace that surpasses my mind. No, I can't explain it. No, I can't contain it. It's just inside me. Oh, got that Sunday morning feeling. I can't hide it. I can't hide it. No. Counting blessings to the ceiling. I believe that you are working everything for good. No denying, your love is shining. That Sunday morning feeling. Sunday morning feeling. That Sunday morning feeling. You're making everything alright. So I'm dancing down the aisles in my mind. Yeah, yeah. That's why I keep on throwing my hands up. You know I won't stop singing, 'cause I've got that Sunday morning kind of vibe. It's just inside me. Got that Sunday morning feeling. I can't hide it. I can't hide it. Counting blessings to the ceiling. I believe that you are working everything for good. No denying, no denying. Your love is shining. That Sunday morning feeling. Sunday
Spider-Man.
Good morning. Is it on?
I think it's on.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
ASMR.
So, Miss Justice, how do you think you would have fared in something like that?
Basketball. So I'm a volleyball player. So I do at school when we're doing a basketball unit. I go bounce, bounce, bounce. I throw the ball straight up in front of me, and then I set the ball like that, and it doesn't go in.
So, I'm from New York City, so I grew up playing street ball. So there's really no rules in street ball. It's kind of like hack, foul, as long as you get the ball in, kind of deal. But that's all right. But something like that, I could dream. I'd probably pull over if I was driving and I saw that, because I would want to do something like that just to show off the skills. But my favorite ones are the ones where they throw them the ball and they walk around. I'm like, really?
Bye bye. I'd probably do that. I wouldn't want to embarrass myself. Oh, was there a ball there? My bad.
Well, how's everybody doing today?
So here at Forward Point, we are a community of faith, hope, and love, helping people find their. We believe you're here on 4A. And we'd like to be part of that story any way we can. E, how can we get connected here? Oh, wait, my name's Justice, by the way. Sorry, I didn't say that.
That's all right. I kind of gave it away when I said Miss Justice. Yeah, my name is E. I'm here at Forward Point. I've been serving for a little bit. I help with the men's ministry. I help with First Impressions, which means all the setup that we do, the coffee and all that stuff. Do the care portal. So I am involved in a lot of things, finding my purpose here at Forward Point. If you're new here to Forward Point, we want to give you a very special welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. We're so glad and so happy that you're here this morning. And we're hoping that at some point you were able to get some banana bread. If you haven't gotten that banana bread, I highly encourage you. It's delicious. It's right outside these doors. We have a welcome table that's there. We have some wonderful people that can answer questions for you, meet you, and they can give you this package as appreciation of being here with us this morning. Over the next 75 minutes or so, there's really not going to be a right way or wrong way to do anything. Or we're just so happy that you're here. We want you to participate and join in however you feel comfortable. Enjoy some coffee, enjoy some of that banana bread, some popcorn, some water, and just enjoy the conversation that we have.
Yes, it's really yummy. The banana bread comes out of the oven, and it goes, oh, it's delicious. Yep. And then also, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter thing, X. And then the Church Center app, everything and anything is on there. If you want to get connected and stay connected, that is the best way to do it at the Church Center app. Everything from our live stream of the morning gathering to the references and scriptures are on there. Plus, all of our events here are at Love Handles. Guys, Love Handles is really fun too. Check that out if you have some time. It's good.
And if you're a kid, it's that time. It's time to release y'all. Go straight out these doors. There should be somebody from Kidman there waiting for you to take you upstairs. And with that, enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Well, good morning, Forward Point. How's everybody doing this morning? It's great to see all of you here this morning. April is upon us. Some sunny day today. Looking forward to that. We've been working with the team. Mike has been kind of rallying us all and getting the team leaders and all the information needed. So we wanted to kind of start off officially today, letting you know as we're making this transition into the new space across the street from Love Handles, what we need to be able to do that. So we kind of have a target goal of being over there, maybe by late end of June, maybe by July, hopefully by the end of 2025. We would like to be over there. To do that, here's what we're looking at. To be able to get to our goal, sound system, lights, furniture, those kind of things, we need to raise $60,000 to be able to get into our own permanent space. Now, this is super exciting for us here at Forward Point, but also we want to remind you that this is also part of the next step of our bridge building into Eastwood. We already have our Love Handle space there, and this is right across the street. And while we're not going to be building a tunnel underneath from one to the other or a bridge overpass from one to the other, the two buildings are going to be very much connected in the different things that they do. We have goals for over the summer to have a weekly block party over there where we have free food and we're going to have live music. And everything that is done over there to build a relationship and connect with people is to earn the right to be able to invite them across the street for maybe an alpha class where maybe they have questions about faith and can it be trusted and some of the things that Christianity proclaims. Let's investigate around a meal, right? So there's going to be some opportunities to remodel the space right next to Love Handles to make it more outdoor friendly, to make it usable, to have more events like that. So that goal is part of that, to do some remodeling to the side of Love Handles to make it more friendly for outdoor space and events, as well as what we need to move into our new space. So if you would, we just ask if you would consider praying about, God, how would you ask me to be involved? Maybe it's just you got cash, sitting underneath your mattress and it's time for it to find a new home. Then that might be the option for you. Maybe you have a skill. I know I was talking to Miss Carol and she was talking about setting up some massage chairs over at Love Handles and just doing, as a fundraiser, massages for people in the community. So we're asking everybody if you could just join in and somehow be creative, whatever you feel that God may be leading you to do and what that looks like. We'll probably have different opportunities for that, but this is $60,000 above, as of today. Many of you join us already in weekly giving and being generous. This is $60,000 we need on top of that because we still have to have the budget for the different things that we do. So we're really believing for God to do some awesome things. We look forward to week being able to show you that thermometer increase and to grow. So be praying about that with us. Speaking of Love Handles, today is going to be a beautiful day. We also have a food truck. I don't know if you ever remember the old days of the food truck rally we used to do down at the parking lot at the Midler House. We had the food truck rodeo. Well, the food truck ideas are coming back. And again, however we can bless the community. So we have Cousins Maine Lobster is going to be right there at Love Handles from 2 to 7 today. And the weather's looking to be really nice. So come on out and just build relationships with people. I'm not super bougie, so I don't even know if I've ever had lobster before. I don't know what it tastes like. I'm used to cheeseburger and fries. So I think I looked at their menu and there might be some tater tots and grilled cheese that I might be able to have. But if you're a lobster person, this is definitely the time for you to come out. When they were talking about those videos that we were watching earlier about the random, throw the ball at people and celebrate, I just love the feeling when they just take total strangers and turn them into friends. They throw the little confetti cannons and it goes up in the air and they're celebrating that, right? Well, this last weekend, it's been show week for the Doyles. They're in a group called Sea Spa, and they've been doing Madagascar. And last night was the end of it all, and a hush and a sigh of relief came over the Doyle house to think that there's no more Sea Spa for a little while. But they had already received flowers on Friday night from some people. So I thought, what is it that I could give them that's not flowers since they already got them? So I said, all right, you pick wherever you want to go and we'll go out to dinner. And they chose to go out to Ichiban. If you're not familiar with Ichiban is a Japanese steakhouse where they cook the food in front of you and they give you a little suntan because the fire flares up and burns sometimes your eyebrows in the process, right? So it reminded me in regards to those videos. I don't know if you've ever been lately, but sometimes they do the little where they'll flip the rice or the shrimp at you to see if you can catch it in your mouth, right? Well, we were doing that at our table. Right, here we are.
Ready? Okay, all right. There we go.
Augustine, on the first try, nailed it, right? Yeah, she comes from a good line of eaters there that Augustine knows how to get the food in her mouth for sure. And it was fun as we went around the different table. There was 2 other groups that were there at our table. And this simple little fun thing that they do as a part of the presentation takes total strangers and turns them into friends and comrades, right? They were cheering for Augustine as she got it in her mouth. When they started flicking it at them, we started cheering for them, even when they missed it. Even if I got close, everyone at the table was like, yeah, you know, because it's such a fun experience. It's something as simple as rice, or something as simple as a basketball, or something as simple as a soccer ball could turn complete strangers into friends. You know, sometimes a miracle, sometimes in life, things, you know, it's not necessarily about what we want, but about what other people need. And you don't have to look too far in culture and in the news to realize that there's a lot of hurting people out there. And what people, you know, what you may want may not be what people need, but part of the miracle business that we're in, that we're talking about, is sometimes it's not about what you want, but what other people need. Well, today's Palm Sunday, and traditionally, Palm Sunday is celebrated as the day that Jesus had his triumphant entry into where he would then become brutalized and die on a cross and then rise again next Sunday for Easter. And it's amazing to think that we're already at Easter, a week away from Easter. I feel like it kind of jumped out of this from nowhere. But today we're going to be kind of wrapping up the side of miracles that is the dark side. It's kind of the ugly side, the scary side, the side that we don't like to talk about much because it doesn't make for good story. It doesn't give you oftentimes the warm and fuzzies. And this morning, we're going to wrap up that side of it. And then next week, we're going to wrap up the entire series with Easter Sunday. And we're really excited for that. I encourage you to join us for that if you can. But the question for this morning that we need to ask ourselves is, what happens when the Son of God needs a miracle? We've been talking about, you know, is it a matter of needing to have a good enough resume for you to get the miracle that you want? And we've seen some people with some pretty awesome resumes not get the miracle that they wanted. So you would think if anyone would have the right resume, would have the right pedigree to be able to just on demand get the miracle that they want, it would be Jesus, the Son of God. But what happens when even Jesus doesn't get the miracle that he wants, doesn't get the miracle that he asked for? Early on in Jesus' ministry, when he gets baptized and he goes into the wilderness, it talks about in the scriptures how he was tempted 3 times from the devil about 3 different things. Basically, the devil gives him opportunity to have 3 different miracles. Right? The first one is, hey, it looks like you're hungry, right? 40 days in the wilderness will make you a little hangry. I see that you're, got a little frustration there. Why don't you just turn these rocks into bread and curb your appetite? Fix your problem. But Jesus recognizes, right, because here's our definition of miracle, is that it's something happening outside the normal order of things that shines a light on God. Now, turning rocks into bread, that would be something outside the normal order of things. But the reason this was a temptation was because the goal was not to shine the light on God, but to shine the light on Jesus. Jesus didn't come here to shine the light on himself. He came here to shine the light on God. So he would rebuttal the enemy and say, man does not live by bread alone, but by the word of God. And then they would go on a little further, and then the enemy would come back with another temptation. Hey, just, throw yourself off of this building, and the angels will come and rescue you. And everybody that sees will, know that you're God, right? This kind of shortcut to getting and capturing the hearts of man. And Jesus again says, this is not shining a light on God. This is putting the light back on me. No, we're not going to do that. And then finally, the third temptation is, he says, just bow to me and I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world. You can kind of bypass the cross. You can bypass all the frustrating experiences you're going to have with these humans you've created. Let's just bypass it all and set up this show, and everyone will be your subjects. And again, Jesus this is not the plan. This This is not the course. This is not shine a light on God, so we're not doing it. But this morning, after Jesus spends 3 years doing miracles for complete strangers, we get to this Palm Sunday, this Holy Week, and at the end of Holy Week, on Thursday, we get to the Last Supper. And at the Last Supper, everyone is having a meal together, and Jesus has the cup and the bread, and he said, this is my body, this is my blood, take it and do it in remembrance of me. And they go from there, and they go to the garden on the Mount of Olives. And Jesus begins to ask for a miracle. And what we begin to see on this kind of last night of the dark side of miracles is that when it comes to miracles, sometimes a miracle is not about what you get and getting what you want, but it's about when someone else gets what they need. That sometimes you're not going to get what you want because of what someone else may need. So this is the Mount of Olives, current day. You see there's a bunch of olive trees, and in the Mount of Olives was this place called the Garden of Gethsemane. So Jesus takes his disciples, and they all go to this garden, and the word Gethsemane actually means olive press. So in kind of this poetic state, Jesus goes to this place where he begins to feel the pressure. If you're not familiar with what an olive press is, this is, basically the same way they would make wine, where you put grapes in and you crush them and the juice kind of falls out. They would put olives, and they would have this metal or wheel, this stone wheel, go around and around and crush the olives, and you would get olive oil. So they go to this garden, literally named Olive Press, and Jesus begins to experience some of his darkest moments of his life. And it begs asking the question, where do you go when you are feeling crushed? Because if there's one area of Jesus' life that we probably relate to, it's probably in the area of feeling crushed. Probably in the area of feeling abandoned or feeling like you got nothing left. Like, if there was anything in you, the press has gone over you and then stopped, backed up, and then went over you a third time. Where do you go during those seasons? And I would love to say, we go to the church, but unfortunately in our culture, the church has lost its place where you go to when you're feeling crushed. We've become more known as being judgmental. We've become more known about all sorts of other things other than being a place that you go to when you're hurting and when you're crushed. We've been doing this a lot here in Eastwood, and our prayers, we started to build and expand into love handles. And as we build and expand into across the street, is that we're positioning ourselves to be a place where people feel like we love the community, and there is a safe place they can go when they're feeling crushed. We're not holding signs about the politician we think should be in office and that's going to save America. We're not holding signs about different sins that there may be that are going to cause you to not be loved by God. That's not what we feel called to do. We feel called to set ourselves up to just love on this community, so we might be able to earn the right once again to be the place where they go when they're feeling crushed. And all of the gospel writers kind of give us some insight into how Jesus was feeling as he's there in the Garden of Gethsemane. In Matthew, he starts off and describes it this way. He says, "Then Jesus went with them to a garden called Gethsemane and told his disciples, 'Stay here while I go over and pray.'" So if you're not familiar with the story, all of the disciples go to the garden, and then Jesus breaks away with just 3 of them, and then he asks them to pray and intercede for him while he gets alone with God. Taking along Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, he plunged into, and this is where you probably will start to relate to Jesus, he plunged into an agonizing sorrow. Then he said, "This sorrow is crushing my life out. Stay here and keep vigil with me." Is anybody here starting to relate maybe to Jesus a little bit more? Probably not your typical place you would find us going when talking about miracles, because miracles are supposed to be, warm and fuzzies. Things are being restored. And here we see Jesus feeling like his life is being crushed from inside of him, that there's this agonizing sorrow. There's a good chance that you might find your story at a place today where there's some agonizing sorrow. Maybe not even because of anything that you did, totally because of the actions of somebody else, but that doesn't prevent their actions from having an effect on you. And this morning it may feel like some agonizing sorrow for you. Mark describes it this way. He says, they came to an area called Gethsemane, and Jesus told the disciples, sit here while I pray. All right, yeah, simple enough instructions. But he says, he sank into a pit of suffocating darkness. He told them, I feel bad enough right now to die. Stay here and keep vigil with me. Now, if you've grown up in some church circles, or maybe you've been in places where maybe it's not quite a healthy church, you say something like this, a very honest, a very real description of how you feel and what's going on in your life. This is not a very spiritual confession. There's a good chance you kind of get swept to the side, or you get asked to, go and come back when you're feeling better about yourself. Because following Jesus, you're not supposed to feel this way. It's supposed to be all butterflies and roses. And you start talking like this, and all of a sudden you're looked like as an outcast. And the church has lost its place where people who are hurt and crushed go and experience miracles. Because what we're going to see is that miracles are less about you getting what you want, but others around you getting what they need. And it's amazing that Jesus knew he was going to be having these feelings going into this battle of the minds. And he chooses to bring along the disciples who still have not yet quite grasped the full extent of who he is, of what their role is going to be. In fact, we're going to see they kind of space out and get all flighty and let him down. But he sets for us an example that in these moments, it's actually important for us to go through these moments in community, which is why it baffles my mind the church would choose to isolate people like this. To choose to isolate and create environments where you just got to put on a face and look like you got it all together. Because what Jesus shows us is that there's going to be times like this in life. And when there is, you have to actually press into community. You don't withdraw from community. Because he takes the 12 and he decides to go a little deeper with just the 3, with James and John and Peter. And as we looked at last week, 2 of those 3 would go to be arrested. One of them would be killed. And James, Peter would have this amazing, miraculous moment in the prison. But they weren't ready for that yet. They still thought they were on course for overthrow of the Roman government. And the Jewish people are going to retake their place in culture. But Jesus demonstrates for us, 1, for sure, these feelings are real. For sure, there's a good chance that 95 to 100% of us have all been there, if not currently there now. And that the faith community is not a place where we just paint a face and kick out the people who aren't painting a face, but actually should be a place where all of us are able to talk about the feelings that we feel and what we're going through. So as we read this story and kind of find ourselves in this position, we got to ask this question, then what's wrong? What's happening? What is Jesus feeling? So Matthew continues in this description of what happens. He says, going a little ahead, he fell on his face praying, my Father, if there's any way, get me out of this. If there's any way possible, if there's somehow that there's a different plan that we can execute to see this happen, let's do that. Because this way, the course that we're currently on, I'm not liking it so much. I don't think it's going to work out to my benefit here. And Mark describes it this way. Going a little ahead, he fell to the ground and prayed for a way out. He said, Papa, Father, you can't you? Get me out of this. Take this cup away from me. Jesus is asking for a miracle. The normal order of things is going to bring him through some gruesome beatings, through a suffocating, torturous death on a cross. It's going to cause the weight of sin for all of humanity to fall on his shoulders, and that's the normal order of things. And he's asking, hey, is there another way that we can do this? There's got to be a different way that we can make this happen. And he's asking for a miracle. Luke describes it this way. He pulled away from them about a stone's throw, and he knelt down and prayed, Father, remove this cup from me. Right? What happens when the Son of God asks for a miracle? We would think if the Son of God asks for it, the Son of God is going to get it, right? Like that's going to be a no-brainer. He's got the pedigree, he's got the resume, he probably has the power. But he submits himself to say, God, is there you do the miracle if there's any possible way. And this idea of remove this cup from me is going to be very key. This is very symbolic. If you remember in the Last Supper, Jesus takes the cup, this idea of the cup being filled, having to drink this cup. It likens me to, if you've ever been an Indiana Jones fan, if you've ever seen the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right, with Sean Connery. And they're going for the cup that Jesus would have had for the fountain of youth. And they go through all the booby traps, and they finally get to this room that's being guarded by this really old soldier, and they have to try to guess which cup is Jesus's. Which cup would Jesus use? And the bad guy who's all in it for just to kind of make himself better, he's looking at the cups, and he chooses the cup that's the most ornate. Right, it's got the most jewels, and it looks the prettiest. Right, this obviously has got to be the cup that's fit for a king. And he drinks water from this cup. And if you've seen the movie, compared to today's CGI, pretty bad CGI. But he starts to whittle away to this skeleton and dies. And hopefully that helps you sleep tonight when you're going to bed. And then finally, Indy, Harrison Ford, starts looking at the cups, and he looks at the cups, processing through who Jesus was, and he picks the most plain cup there is. Because Jesus is a carpenter, and he wasn't about shining the light on himself, and it's just very plain, ornate. Cup, fills it with water, and takes the gamble, and it winds up being the right cup. And he uses it to heal his dad, and then they wind up losing the cup, and the movie's over. But there's something very symbolic about this cup, because it's not about what the cup looks like. It's not about what's on the outside of the cup. It's about what's inside of the cup. And Jesus doesn't want to drink what's inside the cup. Because what's inside the cup is going to bring him, sure, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And he's not so sure that he wants to drink it. God, is there some kind of miracle that can get us out of our current trajectory of where we're at? And he prays this prayer, remove this cup from me. But then he comes back to this place. He says, but please, not what I want. What do you want? This brings us back to week 1, right? This idea of miracles are asking God, not about what you can do for me, but what can I do for you? And Jesus gets back to this place. He's looking about this metaphorical cup and saying, man, I don't want to drink it. I don't want to go down that road. But he says, not my will, but what is it that you want, God? Now, when you ask this question, again, some circles of faith would kind of cast you out and saying, you don't have enough faith. When you start asking about, God, not what I want, what you want, maybe it's not a miracle, but give me the strength to go through. Then some people would say, oh, well, you've already lost your chance at a miracle because you didn't have enough faith. But Jesus gives us this picture to say we can ask for the miracle, but we also need to ask for the strength for when the miracle doesn't come. Because that is probably more realistic than actually getting the miracle. That it's not a lack of faith, it's not unspiritual to say, God, I want this miracle. God, this is what I would love to see happen. This is what I need. But if that doesn't happen, would you give me the strength? Would you give me the community? Would you give me the people in my life? Would you set me up to be able to walk through it so it's not my will, but your will be done? And Luke goes on to describe at once as he offered this prayer to God, an angel from heaven was at his side, strengthening him. I love it's this idea that the angel didn't come and start removing the obstacles. He didn't come and whisper in his ear the exact numbers that are going to be the Powerball for the lottery that week. But he came in and started to strengthen him to endure the road that was before him. And Luke, being a physician, he kind of takes this story from a very medical perspective. He describes Jesus this way. He says, he prayed on all the harder, so much to the place where sweat wrung from him like drops of blood poured off of his face. This is an actual medical condition called hematidrosis, where what happens is, because of some kind of stress or some kind of fear in your life, what will happen is the capillaries in your skin will burst, causing the blood to mix with the sweat, and it would appear as if you are literally sweating drops of blood. So Jesus is at a place in the story where he is triggered with such anxiety to the place where he is literally sweating drops of blood. He has got so much fear, he's got so much stress going on that the capillaries underneath his skin are literally exploding, causing the blood to mix with the sweat and pour from his body. And it starts to make you wonder, man, what was Jesus so anxious about? I mean, you're all smart, intelligent people. Probably for the most part, you all know the rest of the story, how it plays out. What do you think it was that Jesus was so anxious about? And for me, I spent a lot of my life just kind of chalking it up to, man, nobody wants to get beat by a whip called a cat of nine tails, right? A whip that's got all sorts of shards and bones on it that literally would tear off the flesh of your back. Nobody would want to do that. There's probably a good chance Jesus is not too keen about that. There's a good chance nobody would want a crown of thorns placed on their head, right? Thorns that are this long, literally shoved to the top of a head where it would protrude into his skull. There's a good chance you probably wouldn't want that. So Jesus, maybe he's a little anxious about that. There's a good chance. That's a real possibility. It could be, if you're anything like me, you don't want these, 3-inch long nails, metal spikes put into your wrists or your feet, holding you up to these 2 beams of wood. So if Jesus is anything like me, there's a good chance that might make him a little anxious. He might be getting stressed out about that. There's a good chance that he doesn't want to spend the last remaining hours of his life literally trying to fight for every single breath, lifting himself, putting the pressure of the weight of his body on these stakes that are in his feet to try to get another gasp of air. If you're not familiar with the death by crucifixion, it's literally the art of suffocating somebody because they can't breathe. Their body shrinks down, and the only way for them to get any air is to put pressure on the spike that is through their feet, holding them to the cross, and every breath is a struggle. It's probably a good chance he's not excited about that. But when I read the following end of the Gospels talking about the story, Jesus goes through all of these things. Beaten with a whip, crown of thorns placed on his head. And through all these things that are happening, not once do any of the gospel witnesses tell us that Jesus cried out or was angry or was hurt. In fact, after experiencing some of those things, he would go before the local rulers and they would tell us how Jesus was just quiet. He didn't say anything. He wasn't a mob of mess on the floor. And they would ask him questions. He wouldn't say anything. And the only response he had was, you would not have that power if it was not given to you from God. But outside of that, he's not really expressing some kind of problem with that process. In fact, when you read the rest of the story, Jesus does not cry out until towards the end of his life. The gospel writers tell us that moment that the sins of the world came upon him. And the only time throughout this entire experience, the beatings, the flesh being torn from his back, the gasping for air, the only time he cries out is when the sins of the world came upon him. He says, my Father, why have you forsaken me? Of the entire experience, the only thing that hurt him on a level that he was not prepared for, and that hurt him on a level that he couldn't understand, that hurt him on a level that was beyond anything like he could experience, it was the separation of relationship with his Father. You give him the choice, right? Here's the cross and the whip on one side, and here's separation from relationship from your Father. Jesus, which one would you choose? And he says, give me the cross and the whip any day. So when Jesus is here and he's sweating to the point of drops of blood, I'm sure he's not excited about the whip, and I'm sure he's not excited about the cross. But comparatively, he could care less about the whip and could care less about the cross. It's the separation from his Father. It's the broken relationship that he's about to experience that caused him to ask God, is there a way that we can get a miracle here? Is there some possible way that we can do this differently? You can leave the cross, you can leave the whip, but I'm not sure I'm ready for it. I'm not sure I can handle being separated from you. And that's the state of mind that Jesus is in, that he's worried about the broken relationship with his Father. But if you understand what sin has done in the world and what sin has done to our relationship with the Heavenly Father, then we realize that there is no other way. There has to be some kind of payment for sin. There's got to be something that pays the price. And up to that point of the story, it had been animals, regular sacrifices, kind of set up this temporary atonements that would, work for a little bit. But the plan was, from the beginning, the plan that there would be one sacrifice that would be the sacrifice to end all sacrifices. That would then give us an opportunity. It would give you an opportunity. It would give me an opportunity to now have relationship with God the Father. And Jesus says, man, I do not want to walk down this path. If there's any other way for us to do this, God, let's do it that way. And as there was crickets and no response, no divine cloud in the sky with a map of plan B, Jesus says, okay, not my will, but your will. And we're going to go through with this. And he goes back to the inner circle and he finds them sleeping. And 3 times Jesus goes through this experience, right? It's dramatic enough reading it one time. He goes to the inner circle, they're sleeping. Man, you guys have no idea what I'm about to experience. Can't you pray for me? And he goes back and he goes through the whole thing with God again. Again, not because of the whip and because of the cross, but because he does not want to be separated from his Father. Okay, God, not my will, but your will. He goes back to the disciples, sleeping again. A little more forceful, angrier, goes back, God, again. And this 3rd time, he finally comes back to the place where he's resolved. Resolved to do it. Because 4th point, remember, it's not that you get what you want, but that someone else gets what they need. Jesus did not want this. But you and I, we needed this. Right? In the same way Jesus would sacrifice himself, not for him to get what he wants, but for us to get what we need. Once we've come into a place of relationship with him, then he expects us to have the same mindset. And for far too long, faith and Christianity has just been say this prayer to get yourself out of hell and then live the rest of your life the way you want to. But that's not the real gospel. That's not what we see lived out by Jesus. So whenever you're going through a hard time, whenever you're frustrated, whenever you're anxious, whenever you're full of anxiety, whenever you're depressed, it's not just a token phrase to say Jesus has been where you've been. Because Jesus has been so feeling a certain way that the capillaries of his body exploded and caused him to sweat drops of blood. Like, if you haven't been to that level yet, then you haven't even gotten to Jesus' level yet. So wherever you've been, Jesus has been there. It's not just a cute token phrase. But he's not called us to use it as a cute token phrase or as even a real phrase. He's called us to actually be his hands and feet that come alongside, much like the angel did, and to strengthen in community the people around us who are going through these seasons. Addiction, whatever it may be. Because sometimes the miracle is not about what you want, but someone and the people around us and what they need. So what is it that we need? It's not eternal life. That's a byproduct. I'm excited about that. But what we really need, what you really need, what I need more than anything is restored relationship with my Heavenly Father. That's what we need. That's what we should desire. That's what we should want more than anything. And Jesus took the earthly abandonment, man, this one thing that could not scare him. There's nothing else that could scare him more than the thought of being separated from his Father. He could handle the betrayal, he could handle the beating, but not the broken relationship. And for us, we kind of get used to, we kind of get comfortable with broken relationship with our Father. He wants us to live life to the fullest, sure. But only after we are willing to say, we are going to drink from the cup too. The same cup. And because of what Jesus did on the cross, we got what we need. We got spared what Jesus feared most in broken relationship with the Father. Just a few days before Palm Sunday and the triumphal entry, there was this situation where James and John, the sons of thunder, they had their mom come to Jesus. And the mom comes to Jesus and says, hey, Jesus, when everyone's up in heaven, when you get there, I need you to do me a solid. I need you to get my boys to be on the left side of you and the right side of you, okay? Would you make sure that they are in a place of position with you up there in heaven? And Jesus says to the boys, he says, are you prepared? Can you drink from the same cup that I'm about to drink? And when Jesus is saying that, he's not saying, are you able to go through the same kinds of beatings, the same kind of physical pain that I'm about to go through, right? Because we know from last week, that's exactly what happened to James. We know from the life of Peter that he experienced a lot of those same physical beatings. But Jesus wasn't asking them if they were prepared to drink from the same cup, because in reality, they were still pretty comfortable with the separation from the relationship with God. They just wanted the sword to take over the Romans, to rule the world, to be back on top. And Jesus says, actually, you know what? you are going to drink from the cup. You're not there yet, but you are going to get to a place where you desire your relationship with God to be so unhindered that you'd be willing to die for it. You're not there yet. The fact that your mom is coming to me asking for this is just proof enough that you're not ready for it yet. But through what's about to happen, through what I'm about to do, you too are going to get to a place where it's not going to be about what you want, but about what the people around you need. And after Jesus has this interaction with James and John and his mom, he says this, he says, and speaking to himself in his life, kind of the motto for his life, he says, he came to serve and not be served. And then, after spending all this time serving, to give away his life in exchange for the many who are held hostage. Jesus is a hostage negotiator. And he's the kind of hostage negotiator that's willing to say, you know what, hey, you let them go and I'll come in and you can take me hostage. You can take my life. And for each and every one of us, Jesus has played the hostage negotiator where he has said, let him go and take me. I'll pay the price. And once that transaction is done, you don't get to go on just living life as if everything is all hunky-dory. He says, now I've called you. You are now called to be the hostage negotiator. You are called now to serve and to sacrifice for the sake of the community and the people around you. You are now called to be the one who lives by this mantra of it's not about what I want, but what the people around me need. And that's the prayer for Forward Point and the impact that we would have here in Eastwood and in Syracuse. Is that there would be a room full of hostage negotiators that get together every Sunday morning and man, they get fired up and they get excited and they meet and experience God in a different way. But then they go from here laying down their life for their family, for their workmates, co-workers, for their neighborhood. Because like Jesus, we're called to serve and not be served. And to give our life away in exchange for the many that are held hostage. And there's a whole lot of people who are held hostage. There's a whole lot of people in church buildings right now that are still held hostage. And there's a whole lot of people outside of church buildings who are being held hostage. And here at 4 Point, we said we're going to go after people who are unchurched, de-churched, and churched. To live out by example what it looks like to have been a hostage and to now be the hostage negotiator. So this Palm Sunday may be a reminder that, you know what, sometimes if the Son of God doesn't get the miracle that he's asking for, then maybe you and I are not going to get the miracle that we're asking for. Not because God does not want to give us what we're asking for, but because sometimes the miracle is not us getting what we want, but it's about the people around us getting what they need. And 10 out of 10 times, you and I, we can be a part of helping the people around us getting what they need. So this morning as we respond, may you desire to have such a relationship with God, man, where nothing can come between you, where it wouldn't be the pain, it wouldn't be the suffering, it wouldn't be the agony, it wouldn't be the physicalness of what's happening in your life that would worry you, but it would be the thought of that relationship possibly being interrupted, possibly being broken, that kind of desire would be inside of you. And that cannot be attained, Forward Point, in little islands and silos by yourself. It requires the goofy-looking people all around you. That's the only way. So God, we come before you this morning, once again looking at this story that we've probably read dozens, if not hundreds of times. We've probably seen it on movies. We've probably seen it in cute musicals and productions. But this morning, God, we're asking it once again for it to capture us and take a hold of us inside in a way like it has never happened before. God, in a way that in its purest form begins to do a work inside of us that can't happen in any other way other than right now your Holy Spirit just being free to work in our lives. And whatever it is that we're facing, whatever it is that we're looking at, whatever mountain seems to be in front of us and whatever valley we find ourselves in, God, may it not be that our life is based on us getting what we want or don't want. But may we come to a place where we truly say, God, it's not about what you can do for me, but what I can do for you. God, it's not about me getting what I want, but it's about what the people around me need. So whether it be strangers across from a flaming grill, flinging rice, may it be strangers with a basketball and a basketball hoop, a soccer ball, God, whatever it is that we can do, whatever creativity you can give us to begin to build these opportunities to turn strangers into friends and into family. Would you just now begin to give us a picture for? Because we want to be a hostage negotiator like you. If there's some here this morning who have not yet been rescued by Jesus, the ultimate hostage negotiator, then this morning as we respond through some songs and through singing, then this morning it's quite simple, just some kind of expression, some kind of admittance in your heart. You just say, God, I have been living for myself, but now I want to turn and start walking towards your higher ways for my life, of being a hostage negotiator for others. Then this morning that puts you in the place where now you can begin to go and be the miracle for what the people around you need. So God, unite us all in heart and mind and soul and body this morning to be on purpose and setting captives free. Would you continue just to work in our hearts and lives this morning as we respond to you?
When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. Nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. We worship you. We love you. We love you. And we'll never stop. Can't live without you. Jesus, we love you. Can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Jesus. When you walk into the room, sickness starts to
situation ceases to exist. When you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there's resurrection life in all you do. We love you, we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, Jesus. Jesus. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours, we want you. Oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours, we want you. Oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours, we want you. Oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours, we want you. Oh, we want you. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. Face to face with you, like a tidal wave crashing over me, rushing in to meet me. Your love is fierce, like a hurricane that I can't escape. Tearing through the atmosphere. Your love is fierce, like a tidal wave crashing over me, rushing in to meet me. Your love is fierce, like a hurricane that I can't escape. Tearing through the atmosphere. Your love is fierce. Your love is fierce. You chase me down. You chase me down. You seek me out. How could I be lost when you have called me found? You chase me down. You seek me out. How could I be lost when you have called me found? You chase me down. You seek me out. How could I be lost when you have called me found? You chase me down. You seek me out. How could I be lost when you have called me found? Like a tidal wave crashing over me, rushing in to meet me. praise. He lives and it's worth singing. Hosanna. Praise is rising. Eyes are turning to you. We turn to you. Hope is stirring. Our hearts are yearning for you. We long for you. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. In your presence, all our fears are washed away. They are washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Hear the sound. Hear the sound of hearts returning to you. Oh, we turn to you. In your kingdom, in your kingdom, broken lives are made new. Oh, you make us new, Lord. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. In your presence, all our fears are washed away. They were washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us. You are worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord. Sing it again. Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Come have your way. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here one more time. Come have your way. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. I don't know if you know that song. That's a classic song. We did not sing that the way Paul Baloche wrote that. I think we added a little Green Day flair to that. But that's all good. Because life isn't always easy. And sometimes the miracle is not from the external forces around us on the outside, but what God is doing on the inside. So praise can rise in the midst of our suffering. Praise can rise in the midst of when a prayer doesn't get answered the way we expect it. Our hearts can turn closer to God, even in the valleys. And if Jesus can walk those streets on a donkey, knowing what was going to come,
that gives us hope. The Bible says he is the first of many brothers. So when we put our trust in him, he's never promising us that it will be a smooth ride. But he does promise to be with you. So I pray today that wherever you are right now, both in your body, your mind, and your soul, that you would allow praise to rise from within. You would literally be able to pull yourself up through the Holy Spirit. Because he is our friend, and he does love us. All right. What a friend. Let me hear ya. Everybody has trials and temptations. Everybody knows heartbreak and isolation. But we can lay our spirits down, lay our burdens down. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever his heart is my home. Everybody has fears. Everybody got worries. Everybody knows sorrow and devastation. But we can lay our burdens down. Let's lay them down. Lay our burdens down. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever your heart is. Sing it again. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever his heart is my home. No more betrayal, for he is faithful. He fills me up and my cup runneth over. No more betrayal, for he is faithful. How he has proven it over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4. No more betrayal, for he is faithful. He fills me up and my cup runneth over. No more betrayal, for he is faithful. And how he has proven it over and over, over and over. What a friend we have in Jesus. Let me hear you. East to west, my sins are gone, and I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever his heart is my home. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone, I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever. Let's sing it one more time. Oh, what a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever is, and forever and ever is. One more time.
is my home.
If you're looking for next steps, whether you've been here, this is your first time, or you've been here numerous times, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The first way you can do it is by texting welcome to our digital connection card to the number 315-883-2213. You can do it by going to the Welcome Center if you're like me, like to do things in person and face-to-face, kind of had that interaction. We have a Welcome Center here. We have some wonderful people that'll meet you and kind of give you information and answer any kind of questions you have. And lastly, we have the Church Center app. Church Center app, as we mentioned in the very beginning of our gathering, is a wonderful app. Kind of tells you what events are going on. You can register for those events. We have groups you can join, life groups that we have throughout the week. So there's many different ways that you can connect with us.
And then also, if this is where you've decided you want to give, we have a couple of ways you can do that. We have the joy box in the back, because giving is a joy. You can text any amount to 84321. You can give online at forwardpoint.org, and then the Church Center app. Guys, I think this is like the 4th or 5th time we've talked about the Church Center app. It's a great way to get connected and stay connected. I probably should download it, but I couldn't. So, hey, I still say you should do it.
I don't know about Miss Justice, but I've downloaded it, so I have it. We have a prayer team. If you have anything that you desperately need prayer for, we have some wonderful people there that will definitely pray with you, stand in the gap with you. They did give me a word, so if anybody's here who's dealing with any kind of hip issues at all, please, before you leave, go back there. They'll pray with you.
And then also the Palace is so generous to let us be here on a Sunday morning. And so we like to give back. We like to leave it better than we found it. If you have any time after the gathering, to meet the closet right there in the lobby. Past that door, there's a door. There's some brooms. Many hands make a light work, and we can all be out of here and get food.
Here at Forward Point, we love the kids that come each and every week. But the time has come at the end of, before you leave today, make sure you pick them up. We don't want to have to make any phone calls or make any unnecessary trips.
And with that, thank you. See you guys next week.